introduce myself. My name is Christian Janssen, and I'm franchisee of At360 Finance Menlyn. Now, from my side, I'm focused on trying to find money. We as At360 Finance look at all different types of financing, so it's not just residential. We do look at commercial and all kinds of almost venture-based types of financing, but that's more on a one-to-one consultation basis because everybody's circumstances as and when they need financing will differ, especially with the more specialist products. So for today, I'm focusing on the core. All of us are residential property investors, and that is where the basics of origination comes in. And we'll all start off with a couple of small deals, and then gradually, as those small deals get a little bit bigger or you've got the right base, then you start playing with the big boys and you start going into the commercial side. So there's quite a nice progression that comes into it, but all of it starts out with that first point of financing. So from my side, obviously I need to sell my services to you. So an originator is there to make your life easier. And one of the biggest advantages that it comes down to is that I provide one contact point for all of your feedback. I go out and I go and negotiate with each of the banks on your behalf. So you complete one set of documentation, and with that, I can run to each and every financing institution that will consider extending any type of financing to you. So then from there also, especially on residential, our services are priceless. If I don't get you a bond, I don't get paid. When the bond registers, the banks pay us a fee. So yes, there's an indirect cost, but the banks make up for that in lieu of us basically replacing a lot of their processing charges as well as their marketing, because they don't need to actively go out and market for origination business. We bring the deals to them. And with that also, through my years, I've built great relationships with key people in the banks. We submit directly to exactly the same credit department as your banker would. And through my relationships, I'm able to have proper in-depth discussions, especially when a transaction has a couple of interesting nuances. I can address that up front and then also have that proper conversation with the credit manager to say, well, listen, this is why I believe in this deal. And that's also where my reputation comes in, because I want to ensure that quality deals get submitted. And that in turn also means that they can expect a certain level of transaction that comes from my table. I've got an interesting name that I'm busy building with that on account of the fact that most of my applications are on entities, but also with that, we've got a wonderful conversion rate. I'm at about 89% of all transactions that get submitted that get approved at the loan amount that the clients were expecting. So it's something to be quite proud of, and I am. So my advice also is where presentations like these come in, I love putting a deal together. It's so much fun to get somebody into that position where they can purchase. And that journey is one of the biggest points of fulfillment for me. I mean, obviously, I want to see you be successful in deals because I've got that nasty habit of not wanting to starve to death. But similarly so, it's about getting you to a point where you can carry on purchasing. So you don't just buy one property and you're stuck. And then obviously part of the sales spiel of origination, if one bank were to decline, we may be able to get an approval from another bank. So having more options on the table makes it a lot easier for you. And then if we were to get approvals from all of the banks, we're able to keep your bank, where you bank personally, accountable to you to make sure that they give the best possible interest rate. Or failing that, you've got the opportunity to then engage with another bank to make sure that you get the best possible deal. I mean, prior to the massive interest rate drop, to give you an indication of how interest rate savings can help, on a 1.5 million rand bond, when prime was still 10%, if you just got a 0.5% discount from prime, you would save about 120,000 rand in interest over the duration of that bond. So it's quite a material amount, and it's something to shop around for. So that's literally why originators are there. So to take you through what the whole process of a property transaction entails, and also where I come in, I always stress on having to have a pre-qualification in place. And that is not just for my benefit, but for yours as well. If we know what type of bond you can expect, then firstly, you know in what price range to go and dig around for properties. There's no point in qualifying for, say, a 1.5 million and trying to buy 2 million properties, because you're going to have to put down R500,000 deposit. So that's the first step, finding out what the affordability is. Then the second step of that is also to identify any potential pitfalls. So if there's a niggle in your credit profile, we can sort that out up front. So you're not wasting anybody's time. You're not wasting a prospective seller's time. You're not wasting an agent's time. And that's also very important, because those relationships are key to expanding on your portfolio. You are, I mean, a lot of us, myself included, don't always like estate agents, but they are a necessary evil. The problem is just 99% of them make the rest look bad. So it's about finding those good ones. But when you get to the point where you've got that right relationship, where they know when you sign an OTP, you're going to get a bond and you're going to keep on getting bonds, you can start getting greater quality transactions. And I've got a lot of investors who have built relationships like that, where they get access to properties even before the agent lists them. So both benefits. The agent doesn't have to spend any money on marketing. He'll get his commission. And you as an investor get first choice. You've got that opportunity to get that proper bargain before it gets flooded and muddied water starts splashing on it due to too many potential suitors who would want to look at that property. And that can cause your price wars. So once you've got your pre-qualification in place, you'll be signing your offer to purchase. Once the seller has signed the offer to purchase, and also in conjunction with that, I'll help you with the completion of the rest of your application forms so that we can prepare the application. We'll collate all of the supporting documents, because this will differ. If you're full-time employed, it's a very small list of documentation. I mean, it's just payslips and bank statements with the other basics. If you're self-employed, it's 2 years financial statements, income letter, business bank statements, personal bank statements. It can become quite a cumbersome shopping list to work through, but that's also part of the pre-qualification process for me to prepare you, to make sure that you've got all of that handy so that you don't waste valuable time on that offer to purchase. I mean, if you've got 3 weeks to get a bond and you still need to compile your financial statements, you may find yourself losing out on a deal. So once the supporting documentation has been collated, then we submit to the banks that will consider your application. And that's the hardest part of this entire process, just to get that application to the submission point. The moment it's submitted, that's in the bank's hands then. So a couple of questions here and there, they may come back with a couple of queries. They'll come back with a lower offer, a decline, or an approval. With the right preparation, you will find that you'll get your approval in principle. Once the approval has been done, they'll go out and do a valuation. And once you've then accepted their final approval, they'll instruct it to the attorneys, and the transfer and registration of that property will take place. So it's quite a long list of events that take place. But the beauty of it all is, if you look at this list, your real involvement is the pre-qualification, signing your offer to purchase, getting the forms and everything in there. The rest happens in the background up to the point of you having to meet up with the attorneys to get the ball rolling, to get that property transferred into either your name or into your entity's name.